On the 3rd anniversary of our marriage, Gu Sahan slammed a divorce agreement onto the table in front of me. He said, "Hui Yunny, to me, you've always been nothing but a tool. I married you because you were obedient, easy to handle, and wouldn't get in my way. Now that Wanru is back, it's time for you to step aside." As he spoke, Lin Wanru stood behind him, wearing the pearl white gown I had custom made for our wedding. It had been altered, and the hem was stained with a few dark red wine spots. I recognized those marks. At the family banquet last month, I had personally offered her a glass of red wine, toasting to her and the Gu family's prosperous business. She smiled and said, "Thank you, sister," then turned and splashed the wine onto her evening gown, pretending to trip and telling Gu Sahan that I had pushed her. Gu Sahan slapped me right then and there. Now, her fingers rested on Gu Sahan's shoulder, an 8-carat pink diamond glittering on her ring finger. I had seen that diamond before, the Gu family's heirloom wedding ring. On our wedding day, Gu Sahan's mother had personally placed it on my hand, saying it was the symbol of a Gu family wife. Later, Gu Sahan took it away under the pretense of cleaning and maintenance, and it was never returned to me. Lin Wanru touched her slightly swollen belly, her lips curving into a smile so sweet it could rot your teeth. "Sister, don't blame Sahan. He needs a complete family, and I can give him that. As for the child in your belly," I checked, "it's artificial insemination, right? Sahan hasn't touched you in 3 years. This child, who knows where it came from?" I instinctively pressed my hand against my stomach. For months along, I could feel the movement inside. Twins, a boy and a girl. The doctor said their genes were perfect, like a miracle. They weren't the result of artificial insemination. 3 years ago, on our wedding night, Gu Sahan was dead drunk, holding me and calling out Wanru's name over and over. I gritted my teeth and endured it. Just that one time, when he sobered up, he looked at me like I was something filthy. He said I took advantage of him, said I was despicable. After that, he slept in the guest room and gave me the master bedroom, not out of care, but because he couldn't bear to step through that door. But fate had a twisted sense of humor. Just that one time, and I got pregnant. Gu Sahan didn't even remember it. "Sign it." He shoved a pen into my hand, his voice as cold as ice. "Chips, leave with nothing. This is the last bit of dignity I'm giving you. Don't make a scene, it won't end well for you." I looked at the agreement. Leave with nothing. 3 years of sacrifice, not worth a single cent. I lifted my head and stared at the man in front of me. When I married into the Gu family, my father warned me 3 times, saying the Gu father and son were dirty players in business, not good people. I didn't believe him. I thought Gu Sahan was just cold on the surface, that my kindness would eventually warm his heart. 3 years, every day, I got up at 5 to make him stomach-soothing porridge. He dumped it in the trash, saying Wanru loved the fried dough sticks from Yonghe soy milk. I spent 3 months learning to bake, making a cake by hand. He didn't even glance at it, saying Wanru didn't like sweets. I stayed up all night helping him with project proposals. He took all the credit, and when the board praised his vision, he never once mentioned my name. I endured it. I thought marriage was just like this, you grit your teeth and get used to it, but he was just waiting for me to step aside. "If you want me to sign, fine." I calmly pushed the agreement back and met his eyes. "But I have one condition." Gu Sahan sneered. "How much money do you want? Name your price. Don't get greedy. You're not worth much." I shook my head. "I don't want money." "Then what do you want?" "Give me back the wedding rings from our wedding day." Gu Sahan froze. He probably never expected me to ask for that. Those rings were the only thing I truly cared about. On our wedding day, when he slipped the ring onto my finger in the church, his eyes were gentle. Even if it was just an act, even if it was just to go through the motions, it was the only time he had ever been gentle with me. I wanted to keep that memory. Gu Sahan was silent for a few seconds, then nodded. "Fine." He turned and went to the study. Lin Wanru followed, and the two of them rummaged around for a while. 10 minutes later, Gu Sahan came back, holding a ring box. He opened it and tipped the ring onto the table in front of me. I took one look, and my heart turned cold. That wasn't my wedding ring. It was a man's ring, with a single character engraved on the inside. It was the engagement ring he had prepared for Lin Wanru. Gu Sahan pushed the divorce agreement back toward me. "Sign it. Once you do, you can leave. As for the ring, I'll have someone look for the woman's ring, if it's still around." His tone was like he was dismissing a debt collector. Lin Wanru walked over, picked up the pen from the table, and pressed it into my palm. She leaned in and whispered in my ear, "Sister, just sign it nicely, sign it, and you might still leave the capital alive. If you don't," she glanced at my stomach and smirked, "I can't guarantee you won't run into any accidents on the way. You know, miscarriages happen sometimes. Just one fall is all it takes." My hand clenched tight. I stared into her eyes. There was nothing but naked threat in them. 3 seconds later, I lowered my head and picked up the pen. Not to sign the agreement. I lifted the glass of water in front of me and downed it in one gulp. Then I flipped the cup upside down on the agreement. The water stain seeped through, soaking Gu Sahan's signature. "Huiyani," Gu Sahan roared. I ignored him. I stood up and walked slowly to the window. Outside was the lawn of the Gu estate, being set up for an outdoor banquet. It was the homecoming party Gu Sahan was throwing for Lin Wanru, inviting every wealthy family in the capital. He was going to announce my crimes in front of everyone and declare Lin Wanru the true mistress of the Gu family. I pulled out my phone and glanced at the screen. On the screen was a row of green icons, showing a live stream, viewer count, 128,000. The comments were already exploding. The title of the live stream was just 4 words, "My Divorce Banquet." The moment I stepped out of the banquet hall, my finger had pressed the start button. Every word Gu Sahan said, every threat from Lin Wanru, was transmitted through my phone to the live stream. Then I saw the comment pinned to the top. The username was a string of English letters plus a number, HTJ_King, no avatar, no followers. Even the registration time showed it was a new account, but this comment had been boosted to the top in mere seconds. The likes skyrocketing. "Yunny, my daughter, Dad sees you, stay where you are. From now on, no one will touch a single hair on your head. Make the Gu family wish they were dead." I stared at that ID, my throat tightening like something was stuck. HTJ_King, Huitingjun, King. This was my dad's account. I registered it for him 3 months ago, worried he'd be bored, so I told him to scroll through videos to kill time. He said he didn't want it then, called me childish after that comment popped up. The whole live stream went wild, viewers spammed like crazy. "Holy shit, it's Huitingjun, HTJ_King, that top 3 global hidden billionaire, officially verified. This is the real deal. The Gu family is screwed. Come eat at the feast, bros." The barrage of comments made my eyes blur, but I only stared at that pinned comment, my nose stinging. 3 months ago, when I registered that account for him, he was so dismissive, said I was messing around with useless stuff again. I said, "Dad, just keep it, in case you ever miss me and want to check in." He snorted and didn't reply. I never brought it up again. I didn't know when he learned to type, or how long he'd been watching my live streams from his phone every day, or what he felt in his heart when he saw me forcing a smile in front of the camera, saying, "Hubby's working late again today, so hardworking." He stayed silent on the other end for so long, not a single word to me. Now he finally spoke, and his first words were to make the Gu family wish they were dead. Gu Sahan's voice came from behind. "Huiyani, are you leaving or not? Don't drag it out. Wanru still has to try on her dress. No time to watch you put on a sob story." I turned around and looked at his face. This man still didn't know his business empire was already on the brink of collapse. I put my phone back in my pocket without ending the live stream. The stream was still running on the other end, the screen black, but the audio was crystal clear. I wanted my dad to hear every bit of this drama. "I'll sign," I said. Gu Sahan's brow relaxed as he handed me the pen. I took the pen and signed my name on the last page of the agreement. The 3 characters Huiyani were written neatly, just like the 3 characters I wrote on the marriage registration form 3 years ago. I wrote slowly, each stroke feeling like a farewell. After the last stroke, a wet mark landed beside it. I looked up and glared at the ceiling, then pushed the thin piece of paper over. Gu Sahan didn't look at me. He was busy folding the agreement and stuffing it into a brown envelope, his movements as brisk as handling a waste contract. "You can go now," he said without raising his head. "The back door is already open. The servants will bring your things to the entrance. Don't go through the front door. Today is Wanru's big day, and I don't want the guests to see you." After he said that, Lin Wanru immediately added, "Oh, sister, I've packed all your clothes for you, but some were really too old, so I threw them away. You don't mind, do you?" I ignored her. I stood up and walked toward the banquet hall doors. This door is made of rosewood, inlaid with bronze reliefs. 3 years ago, Mother Gu said this was the door to the Gu ancestral home. Any woman who walked through this door was considered to have truly entered the Gu family. When I walked through this door, I was wearing a phoenix wedding dress, my head covered with a red veil. Gu Sahan held my hand, his palm warm. I thought, maybe this man would give me a home. 3 years later. I walked out of the store. This time, I counted every step. From the door to the elevator, it was exactly 13 steps. The elevator was a brass double door, the mirror polished so bright it reflected exactly what I looked like now. My hair was a mess, my eyes were red, and my lips were bitten raw. I pressed the button for the first floor. Lin Wanru chased after me. Her high heels clicked on the marble floor, each step like a hammer against my skull. Hui Yunny, wait. She walked up to me, holding a jewelry box. She opened it and held it out to me. Inside was a ring, with the character Han engraved on the inside, my wedding ring. Sahan asked me to return it to you. He told me to tell you that this ring was a mistake from the moment you put it on. The only person he has ever loved in his life is me. He only married you to make me jealous. Do you understand? Her voice was lowered to a whisper, afraid of being overheard, but her eyes were glowing. Like a cat that had finally torn its prey to shreds, her fingers were trembling, not from nervousness, but from excitement. She had been waiting for this day for 3 years. I clenched the ring in my palm. The engraving on the inside of the band dug into my skin, making my hand go numb. I had worn this ring for 3 years. I had never taken it off, not even to sleep, because I thought, even if this was the only thing I had, it was still a real connection between Gu Sahan and me. Now, this ring lay cold in my hand. The elevator doors opened. Lin Wanru took a step back and waved at me. Her smile was so sweet it could drip honey. Bye-bye, sister, don't bother us anymore. The moment the elevator doors closed, I heard her laughter, and then Gu Sahan's impatient voice. Wanru, is she gone? Hurry up and come change. Don't keep the guests waiting. I leaned against the elevator wall and closed my eyes. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out. It was a message from my dad, not a live stream comment, but a private message. Daughter, come downstairs. The helicopter is waiting for you. Dad is on his way. Let the Gu family have some fun first. Just sit back and enjoy the show. I stared at the message, and finally, the tears fell, not from sadness, but because I had waited 3 years for this moment. I wiped my tears away and touched up my lipstick in the elevator mirror. It was a bright red. I never wore this color normally, because Gu Sahan said red was too flashy on me, and that Wanru looked more elegant in her natural shades. I had bought this lipstick 2 years ago, buried it at the bottom of my makeup bag, waiting for today. The elevator reached the first floor. I walked out. The back door of the Gu mansion was open, just as I expected. 2 woven plastic bags were piled by the entrance. This was the stuff they had packed for me. I rummaged through them. Inside were a few old clothes and a photo frame, the one with my wedding photo with Gu Sahan. The glass was shattered, the shards digging into my face in the picture, as if someone had slashed it with a knife. I picked up the photo frame and brushed off the broken glass. Then I bent down and hoisted the 2 bags into my arms. The contents clattered and clanked, weighing less than 10 pounds in total. 3 years of my youth, worth less than 10 pounds of junk. I didn't look back. I went out the back door and circled around to the front yard. The Gu mansion's entrance was packed with luxury cars. Today was Lin Wanru's big day. Half of the capital's elite were here. The clinking of champagne glasses drifted over from afar. The guests were laughing, congratulating, praising the new young mistress for her beauty and grace. Further away, a black dot was moving toward this direction. The dot grew larger and larger. The roar of the rotor blades drowned out the noise of the banquet. Everyone looked up, stunned, at the sky. A silver-gray helicopter was flying straight toward the Gu mansion. Not an ordinary one. I recognized this model, a Gulfstream G650 modified version. The only one in the world, with a fully custom interior. My dad had spent over $1 billion just for one detail. The back seats could recline completely flat. He said he was afraid I'd get uncomfortable sitting for too long. The helicopter got closer. When it was still a few dozen meters from the ground, the cabin door opened. A rope ladder dropped down. It swayed in the air for a few seconds before stopping steadily less than a meter from the ground. A man leaned out from the cabin. He was wearing a black shirt, sleeves rolled up to his forearms, an antique Rolex on his wrist. His face was sharp, his eyes hiding a blade. It was my dad, Hu Tingjun. He didn't wait for me to climb up to the cabin door. Instead, he grabbed the rope ladder and jumped down himself, a 53-year-old man, leaping from the height of a 3-story building, landing without even bending his knees. His black leather shoes hit the marble floor with a crisp smack. He straightened up, brushed the dust off his pants legs, and his gaze swept past me, landing on the brightly lit Gu family mansion. Behind me, this the place, he asked me. I nodded. He pulled my phone out of my pocket and said into the live stream, keep rolling, let the whole internet see tonight, mess with Hu Tingyun's daughter, and you pay the price. With that, he handed the phone back to me, wrapped one arm around my shoulders, and pulled me closer to him. He smelled faintly of cigar smoke and the chill of the cabin, the exact same scent as 3 years ago. Come on, let's go in with your dad. The moment he pushed open the Gu family's front gate, every laugh in the courtyard came to a dead stop. The guests turned their heads. The instant they saw Hu Tingjun, their expressions froze like someone had hit the pause button. Someone dropped their wine glass on the floor. Someone else stood there with their mouth hanging open, forgetting to close it. A low murmur rippled through the crowd. Holy shit, is that really Hu Tingjun in person? Doesn't he never show his face in public? My dad scanned the room, his gaze finally landing at the entrance of the banquet hall. Gu Sihan stood there, holding a glass of champagne, about to deliver his welcome speech. Beside him stood Lin Wanru, wearing a red gown, beaming as she clung to his arm. My dad looked at them, then pulled his gaze back, lowered his head, and smiled at me. Yunny, remember what Dad said back then? No one in this world gets to make you suffer. 3 years, you've been through hell. Now, Dad's here to collect the debt. He kicked aside the balloon, arched at his feet and strode straight toward the banquet hall. I followed behind him, listening to the gasps erupting all around me and the livestream comments flooding the screen. Then Lin Wanru's shrill voice cut through the air. Who's that? Security, throw that man out. Hui Yunny, what kind of trash did you drag in here? She didn't notice that the Gu Sihan beside her had already turned pale as a ghost. The champagne glass in his hand shattered on the floor. *** Chapter 2, Mistress Post's Baby. Bump pic, father-in-law slaps down a check ***. As I followed my dad into the banquet hall, the entire room fell so silent you could hear the champagne bubbles popping. Gu Sihan stood in front of the main stage, his face as white as paper. The champagne glass in his hand had long since shattered, glass shards embedded in his palm, blood dripping through his fingers, but he seemed to feel no pain. His eyes locked onto my dad's face. Lin Wanru still hadn't caught on. She tugged at Gu Sihan's sleeve, her voice sharp and shrill. Sihan, what are you standing there for? This woman brought some old man crashing in. Call security. Today is my big day. I won't let some random riffraff ruin the mood. The moment those words left her mouth, several seasoned guests nearby sucked in a sharp breath. Zhao Mingyuan, president of the capital city chamber of commerce, was the first to stand up. He set his wine glass directly on the table, bowed respectfully to my dad, and said, Mr. Hu, what brings you here in person? If you'd given us a heads up, we could have arranged a proper reception. My dad didn't even look at him. He walked straight to the center of the banquet hall, pulled out a chair, and sat down. He crossed his legs, pulled a cigar from his pocket, and immediately someone was there with a lighter. Zhao Mingyuan himself, a man in his 50s, bending over to light my dad's cigar, his hands trembling. No need for arrangements. My dad blew out a puff of smoke and said slowly, I just came to see for myself what kind of high and mighty family dares to bully my daughter, Hu Tingyuan's girl. The moment those words landed, the entire hall erupted. Hu Tingyuan's daughter. Who, doesn't the Hu family have no daughter? I thought Hu Tingyun only had a son. Wait, when he came in, he had his arm around that woman, that daughter-in-law of the Gu family. Wasn't she an orphan? No one from her side even showed up at the wedding. Oh my god. Lin Wanru finally caught the whispers around her. Her smile froze on her face. She turned to look at me, her expression shifting from disdain to shock, and from shock to a kind of almost manic jealousy. Impossible, she blurted out. How could Hui Yunny be Hu Tingyuan's daughter? She's just some country bumpkin. She doesn't even have real parents. When she married into the Gu family, not a single relative showed up. How could she be the heiress of the richest family? I stood beside my dad, not saying a word, at that wedding. 3 years ago, I really didn't have a single family member there. Not because I didn't have any, I deliberately kept them away. Back then, my father was so furious he smashed an entire set of purple clay teapots, saying a man like Gu Sihan was unmarriageable. My mother called, telling me that if I ever regretted it, she'd send a plane to pick me up anytime. My brother directly sent over a business investigation report on the Gu group, circling over a dozen issues in red ink, saying a family with such questionable character wasn't fit for an alliance with the Hu family. I didn't listen. I said I loved him, that I believed my sincerity could earn his. My brother was so mad he almost flew over to tie me up and drag me back, but my father stopped him. My father said, let her go, only when she gets hurt will she know to come home. So on the day I married into the Gu family, there were no grand sedan chairs. No bridal procession stretching for miles. I dragged my own suitcase, stepped out of a taxi, and walked through the Gu family's gate. Gu's mother was standing right at the entrance, giving me a once-over from head to toe, and uttered a line I'd remember for 3 years. "This is all the dowry you've got, truly something that can't be brought to the table." 3 years, I never told my father any of this. I didn't want him to know I was living poorly, didn't want him to think his judgment back then was right, but today, that live stream let him see it all. Now he's here. Not to scold me for being blind back then, but to have my back. Gu Sahan finally snapped out of it. He shook off Lin Wanru's hand, strode quickly to my father, and plastered on the usual business smile. "Mr. Hua, hello, my apologies. I had no idea you were gracing us with your presence. I've failed to welcome you properly. This must be some misunderstanding, right? How could Yenny be your daughter? She never mentioned it." "Misunderstanding." My father looked up at him, his gaze as cold as in a boardroom negotiation. "You call this a misunderstanding? Then let me ask you, who was it, just now, forcing my daughter to sign a divorce agreement?" Gu Sahan's smile froze. "Who threatened her to leave with nothing? Who told her to slip out the back door so she wouldn't taint your new flame's eyes?" With every question my father asked, Gu Sahan's face paled another shade, his lips twitched, as if he wanted to say something to salvage the situation. But my father didn't give him the chance. "And that woman beside you," my father's gaze shifted past Gu Sahan, landing on Lin Wanru. "What did she just say? That the child in my daughter's belly has an unclear origin, that she's unclean." Lin Wanru took a step back under that stare, but she quickly straightened up again, rubbing her belly, her voice laced with defiance. "Mr. Hua, I don't care who you are, but facts are facts. Gu Sahan married her for 3 years and never touched her. If the child in her belly isn't from artificial insemination, then what is it? Even if you're the richest man, you can't expect the Gu family to raise someone else's kid, can you?" She said it with full confidence. She thought everything Gu Sahan had told her was the truth. She thought Gu Sahan had truly never touched me, but she didn't know that on that wedding night 3 years ago, Gu Sahan was dead drunk, calling out her name, yet held me and did what husbands and wives do, just that one night, just that one time. And fate made me conceive. Gu Sahan doesn't even remember it himself. I was about to speak when my father pressed my hand down. He let out a soft laugh, so quiet it made every hair in the banquet hall stand on end. "Interesting." He stood up, walked slowly to Lin Wanru, and said, "You say the child in your belly is the Gu family's blood." Lin Wanru lifted her chin. "Of course, this is the Gu family's legitimate eldest grandson." "Good." My father nodded, then turned to Gu Sahan. "And what do you think? Is the child in her belly yours?" Gu Sahan hesitated, glanced at Lin Wanru's belly, then at my father's expression, and forced himself to say, "Mr. Hua, Wanru's pregnancy was confirmed long ago. She's sincere with me, unlike some people who take advantage when I'm drunk." He didn't finish. My father suddenly laughed, not a cold laugh, it was a genuine laugh, as if he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. He bent over, laughing so hard tears came to his eyes, laughing until the whole room fell into dead silence. "Good, good." My father wiped the tears from his eyes, pulled a piece of paper from his pocket, unfolded it, and handed it to Gu Sahan. "Since you're so sure, let me show you something. This is a hospital record from 6 months ago. You, Gu Sahan, had a checkup. The result is clear: severe oligospermia. The probability of natural conception is nearly zero." Gu Sahan's face went completely white. "You say the child in her belly is yours?" My father slapped the paper onto Gu Sahan's chest. "Then tell me, how did you get her pregnant?" The entire venue fell into a deathly silence. Lin Wanru clutched her belly, her lips starting to tremble. The delicate makeup on her face was slowly cracking, revealing the panic underneath. "Impossible, impossible," she murmured, then jerked her head up to look at Gu Sahan. "You never told me. You got a physical. Why didn't you tell me? Did you suspect the child? Were you always suspicious of me?" Gu Sahan didn't answer. He lowered his head, the medical report trembling in his fingers like a falling leaf. I stood to the side, watching the scene, unable to describe the taste in my heart. For 3 years, everyone in the Gu family treated me like an outsider. Gu's mother said I was marrying up, Gu's father said I was after money, and Gu Sahan ignored me completely, yet the child I carried in my belly was the true blood of the Gu family. And the new young mistress they cradled in their hands had a belly full of something of unknown origin. Truly ironic, the scene was at a standstill when Gu's father pushed through the crowd. He had been on the phone in his study, and only rushed over when he heard the commotion in the front yard. The moment he saw my father, his face was a masterpiece of expressions, first anger, then confusion, and then a fawning, almost sycophantic eagerness to please. Mr. Gu's father rubbed his hands together and hurried over. What wind blows you here? Our Gu Corporation's cooperation with your firm has been in negotiations. I never expected you'd come in person. Today is my son's big day. Why don't you do us the honor and sit down for a drink? No need. My father raised a hand to cut him off. I'm not here for drinks. Gu's father's smile froze on his face. He looked at the medical report in Gu Sahan's hand, then at me, then at my father's expression, as if finally realizing something was wrong. But after decades in the business world, he reacted quickly. He pulled a check from his pocket and handed it to me with both hands. Yunny, Gu's father's tone suddenly turned warm and friendly, as if the old man who had forced me to sign the divorce papers wasn't him at all. Uncle knows you've been wronged. Take this check, 1 billion yuan, as compensation from the Gu family. We're still family, aren't we? Why drag this out? Talk to your father. Our two families still need to cooperate. It's not good to damage the relationship. I looked at the check, 1 billion yuan, 3 years ago. Gu's father gave me a bank card with 2 million yuan. He said it was a welcome gift for marrying into the Gu family. I didn't take it then, but Gu Sahan took it for me, saying we'd keep it for emergencies. I never saw that card again. Now he was offering me 1 billion yuan, not as a daughter-in-law, but as someone to be bought off. I reached out and took the check. Gu's father's face lit up with joy. That's right, Yunny, you're truly reasonable. Before I could finish my sentence, I gripped the check with both hands and tore it in half with a sharp rip. Father-in-law, I scattered the pieces on the ground. No, not father-in-law anymore, Mr. Gu. This check can't buy back what your son did to me for 3 years. 1 billion yuan to make my father back off. Do you think his daughter is only worth that much? Gu's father's face turned the color of pig liver. My father patted my shoulder, smiling with satisfaction. Well said, that's my daughter, Tingjuan's girl. He turned to face Gu's father, the smile on his face cooling bit by bit, like frost patterns on a winter lake. President Gu, you said 1 billion yuan as compensation. Fine, I'll tell you now, the Hu family doesn't even blink at 1 billion, but what your son did to my daughter, I'll make your Gu Corporation repay 100-fold. Starting today. He lifted his wrist to check the time, his tone as flat as if he were reporting the weather. The top 100 chambers of commerce worldwide have already received a credit freeze order for Gu Corporation. All of Gu's cargo ships on the Mediterranean route are being seized right now. All accounts in 37 overseas banks under Gu Corporation were frozen 15 minutes ago, and, he paused, looking at Gu's father with a hint of pity in his eyes, the evidence of your eldest son, Gu Sion, participating in overseas money laundering has also been submitted to the International Commercial Crime Investigation Bureau. He should be getting intercepted on his way to the airport right now. 2 sons in this generation of the Gu family, 1 blind in the eyes and heart, 1 laundering money. How long do you think the Gu family can last? Gu's father's body swayed. He stumbled back 2 steps, nearly stepping on the glass shards on the floor. His face went from pig liver red to deathly pale, his lips blue, his pupils suddenly contracting. I had never seen a man who had dominated the business world for decades collapse so completely in 30 seconds. Gu Sahan rushed forward to support his father. Dad, my father didn't spare them another glance. He grabbed my arm and turned to leave, muttering to Zhao Mingyuan beside him as we walked. President Zhao, I don't see the point in continuing this banquet. The guests can help themselves. As for the Gu family's tab tonight, he looked back at Gu's father, a cold smirk curling at the corner of his lips. Let them foot the bill themselves. From today onward, not a single cent of the Gu family's money is enough to cover any of their debts. Zhao Mingyuan nodded repeatedly. Mr. Hu, rest assured. We'll leave immediately. The crowd began surging toward the entrance. The banquet hall, silent for 3 seconds, instantly erupted into chaos. Some were on the phone pulling investments, others were deleting contact info, and a few were muttering curses under their breath for ever attending. The once lively open-air banquet had turned into a frantic evacuation scene in the blink of an eye. My father guided me out with his arm around my shoulder. Behind us came Lin Wanru's hysterical shriek. Gu Sahan, explain yourself. What's with that medical report? You suspected my child wasn't yours all along. You knew from the start. Then came the sound of glass shattering, a woman's piercing cries, and Gu Sahan's exhausted roar. Enough, shut up. I didn't look back. The moment we stepped out of the Gu family mansion's gate, the sunlight made me squint. The helicopter was still hovering overhead, its massive rotor roar drowning out all the noise behind us. My father placed his hand on my shoulder and patted it gently, the same gesture from 3 years ago. On the platform when he sent me to the train station, he patted my shoulder like that and said, "Yunanai, don't be afraid of falling. If you can't get up, Dad will come get you." I took a deep breath, forcing back the tears welling in my eyes. I'd shed too many tears these past 3 years, secretly in the Gu family's kitchen, under the covers in that empty bedroom, sitting alone outside the prenatal checkup room. But from today, not a single tear was worth it. "Dad, thank you," I said. My father didn't reply. He bent down and hoisted the 2 burlap sacks onto his shoulder. I instinctively reached out to take them, but he brushed my hand aside and carried them himself. That Hu Tingjun, ranked in the global top 37, who once stood on the podium at the World Economic Forum in a sharp suit, now trudged along the concrete road outside the Gu mansion with 2 bags of tattered belongings, his leather shoes stained with glass shards and mud. "Let's go home." 3. Mother Gu forces Anil, threatens to take the womb. The helicopter's rotor roar hadn't even faded when my phone rang. It was Mother Gu calling. I stared at the name mother-in-law flashing on the screen, my finger hovering over the answer button for half a second. My father sat beside me, glanced at the screen, and said flatly, "Answer it, let's hear what she has to say." I pressed the answer button without turning on the speakerphone, but the cabin was so quiet that Mother Gu's shrill voice came through crystal clear. "Hui Yunny, you little tramp, get your ass back to the Gu mansion, now." Immediately, her voice was so piercingly sharp that I instinctively pulled the phone away from my ear. 3 years, I'd grown used to this tone, from the first day of our marriage when she complained my breakfast wasn't to her taste, to this call today. Every word she'd ever said to me in those 3 years carried that same condescending pitch. "Do you have any idea what you've done to our Gu family?" Mother Gu's voice was both shrill and trembling, as if she were at her wit's end. "Your eldest brother, Sion, got arrested at the airport, your father's blood pressure shot up to 200, the company's stock hit the floor, and you're still hiding behind that nouveau riche father of yours, playing innocent. I'm telling you, Hui Yunny, if you don't come back today to kneel and apologize, if you don't make your father retract all those damn sanctions, then she paused, and her voice suddenly dropped, turning sinister, "I'll make sure that bastard in your belly doesn't live to see tomorrow." My fingers tightened abruptly. "What do you mean by that?" My voice was calm, but my hand holding the phone was trembling. Mother Gu let out a cold laugh on the other end, a laugh laced with a near-crazed glee. "What do I mean? You still don't know, do you? The hospital where you had your prenatal checkup, the head of obstetrics and gynecology is one of ours. With just one word from me, your checkup records will read fetal abnormality, and then I'll arrange an abortion." "Hui Yunny, you think having a rich daddy can keep you safe? That thing in your belly carries the Gu name, and whatever the Gu family doesn't want, no one can keep." My blood rushed to my head in an instant. 4-month-old twins, a boy and a girl, already moving inside my belly. Every night, I can feel them shifting, like 2 little butterflies fluttering their wings. I gave them nicknames, one called Anin, the other Ningning, peace and calm, quiet and steady. I haven't prepared anything for them, just these 2 names, the only things I've felt worthy of in 3 years. Now Mother Gu says she wants to take them out of me, like plucking off an unwanted tumor. My dad took the phone from my hand. He didn't speak into the receiver. Instead, he placed it on his knee, pressed the speaker button, and opened another interface on the phone. I saw it. A recording interface, the red record button blinking steadily. From the moment the call connected, this conversation had been recorded. "Madam Gu," my dad's voice was cold as a blade, "I've recorded everything you just said, threatening a pregnant woman, intending to harm another's fetus, inciting medical corruption, 3 charges, each enough to land you in prison for years. Do you believe that once this recording reaches the court, you'll never set foot in your grandchildren's delivery room again?" Silence fell abruptly on the other end. 3 seconds later, Mother Gu's voice rang out again, but this time, it was clearly panicked. You recorded it. What right do you have to record?" "Hu Tingjun, don't push me too far. Our Gu family isn't easy to mess with, I'm telling you. I know people in the capital too. You can't touch me." "Who do you know?" My dad's voice carried a hint of leisurely mockery. "Tell me, I'm listening." I should have already greeted everyone who's anyone in the capital. Mother Gu couldn't name anyone. She switched tactics and started cursing me. Hui Yunny, you little slut, our Gu family raised you for 3 years, fed you, clothed you, and now you bring people to wreck our place. Your conscience is eaten by dogs. Wanru was right, you're an ungrateful wolf. Our Suhan marrying you is the worst luck of 8 lifetimes. You'll die a miserable. A sharp, screeching static noise. The call dropped. My dad handed the phone back to me, expressionless, and said, "She'll call again." Sure enough, 10 seconds later, Mother Gu sent a voice message. I tapped it open. Her voice trembled violently, as if she was forcing down fear but stubbornly refusing to yield. Hui Yunny, don't think I'm afraid of you. Tomorrow at noon, come to the Gu family's old mansion. If you don't, I'll let the whole capital know that the child you're carrying isn't from the Gu family. Think it over. If you can afford to lose that face, then don't come. The message finished playing, and silence hung in the cabin for a few seconds. My dad turned to look at me, a hint of inquiry in his eyes. Do you want to go? I gazed out the window at the clouds racing past, thought for a moment, then nodded. Yes, why not? If she's asking me to come, it means she thinks she can still turn things around. She believes she still has cards to play. I gently pressed my hand against my lower belly, feeling the faint movements inside, then lifted my head and gave my dad the most genuine smile I'd had in 3 years. Dad, you taught me to kill a snake, strike it 7 inches. Since she's delivering herself to me, let's make her lose so thoroughly she'll have no choice but to accept it. My dad stared at me for 3 seconds, then burst into loud laughter. Good, he slapped his thigh, his voice brimming with pride. That's my blood. He paused, then added, tomorrow, I'll have Ajong go with you. He's a former Special Forces soldier, a top 20 security expert globally. Also, he pulled out his phone and started dialing. Hey, it's me. Arrange for tomorrow, within a 5-kilometer radius of the Gu family's old mansion. Deploy all our people, send 2 helicopters for aerial patrol, and 3 cars on the ground to shadow mist the entire way. And, he paused, his tone suddenly dropping to a whisper, so soft it reminded me of when he'd lull me to sleep as a child. Have the best OBGYN specialists brought in to stay with Yunny the whole time. No one is to even touch her. After hanging up, he turned to look at me, his eyes a little red. He didn't say anything, just reached out to tuck a stray strand of hair behind my ear, then patted the back of my hand firmly. I looked down at his hand. That hand, which had signed trillion-dollar contracts, had just carried a snakeskin bag, and now rested gently on mine, rough and burning hot. Tomorrow, he said, let them know what regret really means. Chapter 4, Father's Thunderous Fury. Warships form an array. The next day at noon, I stood at the entrance of the Gu family's old mansion. This time, I didn't take the back door. I stood at the main gate, looking at the redwood door inlaid with bronze reliefs. The stone lions were still there, the plane trees still stood, everything exactly as it was 3 years ago when I married into this family. But this time, the person standing beside me wasn't my father. It was a man in a black tactical suit, Ah Zhong, the security expert my father had assigned to me. At 9 meters tall, he stood behind me like a wall. Miss Hua, the entire area within a 5-kilometer radius has been fully secured. 2 helicopters are on standby in the air, and 3 ground vehicles are ready to respond at any moment. Also, Mr. Liu asked me to tell you that he's in the command vehicle 2 kilometers away. If anything happens, he'll be here in 3 minutes. He paused, his expression still cold and hard, but his voice softened. He also said, don't be afraid. I smoothed down the non-existent wrinkles on my skirt, took a deep breath, and pushed open the door. Inside the Gu family's old mansion, all the servants were standing in the courtyard. When they saw me enter, their expressions were a mess, some surprised, some guilty, some with their heads down, too afraid to meet my eyes. For 3 years, these servants had been Mrs. Gu's eyes and ears. Everything I did, ate, or said was reported back to her. The most diligent of them, housekeeper Zhou, was now shrinking at the back of the crowd, her face almost buried in her chest. Mrs. Gu sat in the center of the living room on a rosewood armchair, wearing a dark green qipao, her hair perfectly coiffed, her face heavily made up, showing no trace of her furious outburst from yesterday. Beside her stood Lin Wanru, dressed in a pink maternity dress, one hand on her lower back, her belly protruding, with a smile I knew all too well, that smug look of "you'll never beat me." I swept my gaze across the living room. Gu's father wasn't there. Gu Sahan wasn't there either, just these 2 women, one old, one young, clearly setting up a trap to corner me. Too bad they didn't know who was really being cornered. You actually dared to come, Mrs. Gu sneered, picking up the teacup from the coffee table and taking a sip. I thought your nouveau riche father would have hidden you away. Guess you've got some guts after all. I ignored her words, walked straight to the center of the living room, and sat down on another chair. Jean stood behind me, hands clasped behind his back, his eyes scanning everyone present. Mrs. Gu glanced at him, the muscles in her face twitching slightly, but she quickly regained her composure. Spit it out, I said, my voice calm. You didn't call me here for tea, did you? Mrs. Gu set down her teacup, stood up, and walked over to me. Her eyes swept over me from head to toe, finally settling on my belly. That look reminded me of the first time she saw me in my wedding dress 3 years ago. The same appraising gaze, like she was assessing how much I was worth. Hui Yunny, she said, her voice as cold as well water in winter. I called you here today to give you one last chance. Have your father lift the sanctions against the Gu group, kneel and kowtow to me in front of everyone to admit your fault, and, she paused, lowering her voice, get rid of that thing of unknown origin in your belly. Do these 3 things, and I'll let bygones be bygones. I'll have Sahan remarry you. I almost laughed out loud. Remarry? You think I care about remarrying? I stood up, meeting her gaze. Mrs. Gu, you've got it wrong. I came here today to inform you of something, not to listen to your conditions. Lin Wanru sneered from the side, waddling over with her belly thrust out. Hui Yunny, don't think having a rich daddy means you can turn the world upside down. Let me tell you, Sahan has already gone to get someone. You can find Hu Tingjun to back you up, but we can find someone who can crush the Hu family. Beijing is big, but Hu Tingjun isn't the biggest. She paused, her voice dripping with saccharine sweetness. Oh, by the way, Sahan took me for a prenatal checkup last night. Our baby is very healthy, 5 months old, a boy. Everything in the Gu family will be his someday. Those 2 bastards in your belly, better if they're never born. Even if they are, no one will want them. My hand trembled. I clenched my fists on my knees. Jean let out a soft cough behind me, reminding me to stay calm. I took a deep breath, about to speak, when my phone suddenly vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out and glanced at it. A message from my father, just 1 sentence, without even a punctuation mark. Watch the news. I opened the financial news page on my phone. The headline, bold red text, published 30 seconds ago. Breaking news, sudden shift in Mediterranean situation. This morning, 3 10,000-ton destroyers flying the Hu shipping flag appeared in the eastern Mediterranean Sea, intercepting and inspecting a cargo vessel flying the Gu group flag. According to insiders, the detained cargo ship was carrying smuggled chips worth nearly 10 billion yuan, key evidence of long-term illegal trade by Gu Group's overseas subsidiaries. The involved vessel has been escorted to a designated port, and all personnel on board have been lawfully detained. A spokesperson for the International Commercial Crime Investigation Agency stated that the case involves a massive sum and will be the largest cross-border smuggling case since the organization's inception. I lifted my phone, turning the screen toward Mother Gu and Lin Wanru. They both saw the news at the same time. The teacup in Mother Gu's hand dropped straight to the floor, shards of porcelain scattering everywhere. The smile on Lin Wanru's face vanished instantly, replaced by a look of dazed terror. What is this? Mother Gu's voice trembled. Smuggled chips worth 10 billion. Impossible. When did our Gu family ever engage in smuggling? Your father is framing us. Framing. I pulled back my phone, letting out a cold laugh. Madam Gu, did you know your eldest son, Gu Xian, was on an international investigation list 6 months ago? He registered 3 shell companies overseas, using Gu's shipping routes to transport smuggled chips. Your husband, Gu Qinghai, was fully aware of this the entire time. You thought you were flawless, but cross-border investigations take time. All my father did was make a call to accelerate the release of the investigation results. Mother Gu staggered back 2 steps, grabbing the armrest of the old master's chair. Her makeup was smeared by cold sweat, revealing loose skin and deep wrinkles underneath. In that moment, she truly looked like a 60-year-old woman, not the Madame Gu who once ruled the elite circles of the capital. Impossible. Xian wouldn't do this. You're lying. She suddenly lunged at me like a madwoman, raising her hand to slap me. Zhong stepped in front of me in a flash, catching her wrist with one hand and twisting it gently, not hard, but enough to immobilize her. Madame Gu, Zhong's voice was cold as a machine. Please keep your distance. If you approach Miss Wu again, I will treat it as a threat to personal safety. Mother Goose struggled a few times but couldn't break free. She deflated like a punctured balloon, collapsing against the old master's chair, panting heavily. Her expression shifted from anger to fear, and then from fear to a deep, profound despair. Lin Wanru stood nearby, silent the entire time. Her lips trembled, her hand pressed against her belly, knuckles white. The look she gave me was no longer smug, it was something I couldn't quite read, as if she was seeing me for the first time. I turned and walked out. At the door, I glanced back at them. Mother Gu was slumped in the old master's chair, her lips quivering, unable to speak for a long time. Lin Wanru had her head down, hands covering her face, shoulders shaking slightly. I looked away, pushed open the red wooden door, and stepped over the threshold of the Gu family mansion. The sunlight outside was blinding, warm on my face. I looked up at the sky. The 2 helicopters were still circling overhead, their rotor blades pounding like drums, beating against my heart with every thud. Ajong followed behind me, speaking in a low voice. Miss Wu, Mr. Lu's car has arrived. He's waiting for you inside. I nodded and walked toward the black Rolls-Royce. The door opened, and my father sat inside, a laptop open on his lap, the screen filled with dense data. He saw me come in, closed the laptop, and looked me over from head to toe before letting out a sigh of relief. Are you hurt? No. Good. He patted the seat beside him. Get in, I'll take you to lunch. Your mother just called, said you've lost weight, and told me to fatten you up. I got into the car, sinking into the soft seat. Watching the streets was by outside the window. The Gu family mansion grew smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror, eventually becoming a tiny black dot that disappeared around a corner. I closed my eyes and let out a long breath. 3 years of nightmares, finally over. 5. The Gu stock crisis, global blacklist. The 48 hours after leaving the Gu family mansion were the most restful sleep I'd had in 3 years. My mother rushed back from Switzerland and personally made me soup. I drank 3 bowls, ate most of a steamed sea base, then curled up in my old room at the Hu family estate, sleeping from 9 at night until noon the next day, when I woke up. The curtains were still drawn, the room dim. A glass of warm water and a plate of cut fruit sat on the nightstand. Next to it was a sticky note in my father's handwriting. Eat it all, no leftovers. I picked up a fork, stabbed a piece of kiwi, and put it into my mouth. Sour, but my heart felt sweet. Going downstairs, I noticed the atmosphere in the living room was different. My dad sat on the sofa, 3 laptops spread out in front of him, 2 tablets beside them, screens flashing with data racing by. Several men in suits stood nearby, holding folders, their expressions grim, awake. My dad didn't look up, just waved me over. Come take a look. I walked over and sat down next to him. He pointed at one screen, which showed a financial news headline, the red text glaring. Gu Group's stock price plummets over 90%, market cap evaporates more than 900 billion. Controlling shareholders pledged shares forcibly liquidated, 900 billion. I couldn't help but gasp. It can still drop more, my dad said flatly. It hasn't hit bottom yet. Once all the evidence from their smuggling case goes public, overseas assets get frozen, and debt defaults trigger cross-default clauses, then it's not about how much it drops, but whether they get delisted. The way he said it was like he was commenting on the nice weather. A middle-aged man in a gray suit pushed up his glasses and handed over a document. President Hua. All top 100 global chambers of commerce have signed the joint sanctions agreement against Gu Group. Starting today, all of Gu's overseas business activities will be blocked. Additionally, 37 of Gu's domestic subsidiaries have received bank loan recall notices. They have no more than 72 hours left. My dad took the document, glanced at it, and nodded. 72 hours is too long. Step it up. Freeze all their bank accounts within 48 hours. Yes, sir. The gray-suited man left with his team. The living room fell silent, leaving only the sound of data ticking and birds chirping outside the window. I sat on the sofa, staring at the plunging numbers on the screen, a strange feeling welling up inside me. Not satisfaction, not pity, just an empty, hollow relief, like a 3-year weight pressing on my chest had finally been lifted, leaving so much empty space in my ribcage that I didn't know what to fill it with. What are you thinking about? My dad closed one laptop and turned to look at me. I'm wondering what Gu Sahan's face looks like right now. My dad chuckled and turned another laptop toward me. On the screen was a surveillance feed. Judging by the angle, it was the lobby of Gu Group's headquarters. In the frame, Gu Sahan was surrounded by a swarm of reporters, microphones shoved under his nose, flashlights blinding him. He tried to push through the crowd, but the reporters wouldn't budge, firing questions at him one after another. Mr. Gu, were you aware of Gu Group's chip smuggling operation? Mr. Gu, rumors say your wife, Hua Yunny, is Hu Tingjuan's only daughter. Any comment? Mr. Gu, word is you forced your pregnant wife to sign divorce papers for your mistress. Is that true? Mr. Gu, Gu Group's stock hit the daily limit again today. What's your plan? Gu Sahan's face twisted on the screen. He didn't answer a single question, just shielded his face with his hands and scrambled toward the elevator. His suit was wrinkled, his hair a mess, dark circles deep under his eyes. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. Overnight, in the 3 years I'd known him, this was the first time I'd seen him so pathetic. Before, he was always that Mr. Gu, suit crisp, hair perfect, standing at the head of the conference room barking orders, his eyes always carrying a hint of disdain. Now, he was like a rat trapped in a cage, walls closing in from all sides, no way out. Suddenly, someone burst into the frame. Lin Wanru. She came out of nowhere, throwing herself in front of Gu Sahan, screaming at the reporters, "Get lost. Stop filming, I'll call the cops. Do you know who I am? I'm the future madam of the Gu family. The baby in my belly is the Gu heir. Treat me like this, and you'll pay." Her words barely landed when a reporter shoved a microphone in her face. "Miss Lin, is there doubt about the father of your child? Sources say Gu Sahan was diagnosed with severe asthenospermia 6 months ago. Is this baby really a Gu?" Lin Wanru's face instantly turned the color of liver. She opened her mouth to argue, but her lips trembled for a long time without a single word coming out. She covered her face, turned, and ran. Her high heels clacked on the marble floor, each step a stumble. One reporter took a few steps after her but was pulled back by a colleague, who said, "Forget it, don't chase." Gu Sahan stood in the middle of the crowd, watching Lin Wanru run off into the distance, his face completely blank. He seemed numb, indifferent to all the accusations and scolding around him, like an empty shell stripped of its soul. The elevator doors finally opened. He walked in with his head down, and just before the doors closed, the camera caught him slowly sliding down to sit on the floor. The footage ended there. I leaned back on the sofa, silent for a long time, then I turned my head to look at my dad. "Dad, don't you think he's kind of pitiful?" My dad didn't even look up. No, he paused, closed his laptop, and turned to face me, his expression as serious as if he were signing a major contract. "Yunny, let me tell you something. In business, being soft-hearted is a fatal flaw. When he chose to bully you back then, he should have known this day would come. You're not his savior. You don't have to forgive him. You can stop and glance down when he falls, but don't reach out to help, because you don't owe him anything." He stood up, tucked the laptop under his arm, and freed one hand to ruffle my hair. "The only person you owe is yourself. You owe yourself 3 years of good living, starting today. Make it up to your dad." Lou, the special assistant, makes a flashy entrance, revealing my identity. On the 3rd day after the Gu Corporation collapsed, every front-page headline in the capital changed its subject. Gu Corporation announces bankruptcy liquidation. 7 short words declared the end of a century-old dynasty. I sat on the balcony of the Hu family mansion, scrolling through my phone, watching the flood of news coverage. Some outlets calculated the total debt the Gu family owed. Others analyzed Hu Tingjuan's business logic behind this move, and still others dug into the romantic entanglements between Gu Sahan and Lin Wanru. The comment section was as lively as a market. Some clapped and cheered, others sighed in regret, and plenty cursed Gu Sahan for being blind, marrying the richest man's daughter, yet forcing a divorce for the sake of a mistress. I was still scrolling through comments when my dad pushed the door open. Today, he wore a dark gray suit, his hair neatly combed, a far cry from the uncle in slippers who'd been peeling apples for me these past few days. "Get changed, I'm taking you somewhere today. Where? You'll find out when we get there." I changed into a formal outfit and followed him into the car. The car drove all the way to the busiest district in the capital and stopped in front of a skyscraper. I looked up at the logo on the rooftop, Hu Corporation Tower, for big characters glittering in the sunlight. "What are we doing here?" My dad didn't answer. He walked straight into the building. I followed him through the revolving doors into a massive banquet hall. The hall was packed with people. I scanned the room, and my heart tightened. All media reporters, rows of long lenses and cameras set up, a setup bigger than any press conference I'd ever seen. In the front rows sat many people in suits, and I recognized a few faces, the heads of major global financial groups' Asian operations. My dad walked up to the podium, tapped the microphone. And the entire room fell silent instantly. Ladies and gentlemen, his voice was steady and powerful. I've called you all here today to announce something important. He paused, his gaze sweeping across the room before landing on me, my daughter, Huiyuni. I stood below the stage, frozen. A spotlight suddenly hit me, making me squint slightly. Everyone's eyes focused on me, shutters clicking non-stop, flashes exploding in the air. She's no orphan, no poor relative of some family, and certainly no outsider marrying into wealth. She is my, Hu Tingjuan's, only daughter, the sole legal heir to the Hu business empire. Her net worth ranks third on the global Forbes Women's Wealth list. The inheritance she receives is the business empire I built with my entire life. A gasp erupted through the banquet hall. Also, my dad raised a hand to signal silence, then pulled a yellowed old newspaper from his pocket and unfolded it for everyone to see. I saw some rumors before, saying that when my daughter married into the Gu family, not even her own family showed up, claiming she had no parents and no upbringing. So today, I'll set the record straight. He held the newspaper high. On it was an old photo showing two people. One was my dad, the other was a middle-aged man I'd never seen before, dressed in an old-style Zhongshan suit, with an air of unyielding authority in his brow. This, my father said, pointing at the person in the photo, is my father, Hu Xinshan. Your generation might not have heard his name, but the elders in your family definitely have. 40 years ago, during the global financial crisis, it was this man, Hu Xinshan, who poured his entire fortune into saving the capital chains of 32 banks across Asia. Later, he retired to Switzerland and stopped appearing in public. His eldest son, Hu Tingjun, that's me, spent 30 years growing the Hu family's assets from tens of billions to trillions, and now, the third generation of the Hu family is standing right in front of you. Huiyuni. He set the newspaper down, his gaze slicing through everyone in the room like a blade. You all asked whose daughter she was before, now she's standing here. 3 generations of the Hu family, solid as iron, the true blue bloodline of a wealthy dynasty. Anyone still has questions, ask me to my face. Dead silence filled the hall. My heart was pounding. My father had never told me any of this before. I knew my grandfather was formidable, but I didn't know just how formidable. I knew my family was rich, but I didn't know just how rich. My father never let me get involved in these things. He said girls shouldn't worry about money, just live happily day by day. Now he was laying it all out on the table, using the entire Hu business empire to forge an undeniable identity for me. I looked up at my father on the stage. His temples were already white, but when he stood there, his back was ramrod straight. He caught the glint of tears in my eyes and gave me an almost imperceptible nod, his lips moving silently. I read those 2 words. Don't cry. I took a deep breath, forced the tears back, straightened my spine, and walked up onto the stage. My father handed me the microphone. I stood at the center, facing the dense forest of cameras and faces below. 3 years of grievances, restraint, and resentment, everything that had been clogging my chest, suddenly fell silent in that moment. I cleared my throat, and my voice came out steadier than I expected. Hello everyone. I'm Huiyuni. Another wave of shutter clicks erupted. For the past 3 years, I lived as Gu Sihan's wife. In that marriage, I was stripped of my right to speak, my existence was denied, and I was treated as a disposable accessory. The Gu family told me I wasn't good enough, I wasn't worthy, I didn't deserve to be loved, and for a while, I believed them. I paused, scanning the crowd. The reporters held up their recorders, their eyes locked on me without blinking. But I don't believe that anymore. I turned and glanced at my father, then continued, I'm Hu Tingjuan's daughter. I am the heir to the Hu group. My worth doesn't need anyone else to define it. What the Gu family owes me, the law will make them repay. As for me, all I have to do is live each day well, take care of the child in my womb, and build my career. As for those who hurt me, I smiled, a faint one, let them deal with it themselves. With that, I set down the microphone and stepped off the stage. Behind me, thunderous applause erupted, along with a barrage of questions from the reporters. Miss Hu, will your child take the Hu or Gu surname? Miss Hu, has Gu Sihan contacted you? Miss Hu, do you plan to take over the Hu group in the future? I didn't answer a single question. My father wrapped an arm around my shoulders and led me out through the side door of the banquet hall. The elevator doors closed, sealing off the noise outside. My father leaned against the elevator wall, arms crossed, watching me with a hint of a smile on his lips. That speech just now was pretty good. You're even more eloquent than I was at your age. I leaned against the opposite wall and let out a long breath. Dad, Why didn't you tell me about Grandpa sooner? What was I supposed to tell you, so you could wave the family tree around and compare who's richer? My father shot me a look. I built my business on skill, not on my ancestors' reputation. I brought up your grandfather today not to show off, but to shut those people up, to let them know that messing with you comes with consequences. He paused, his voice softening, and also, I wanted everyone to know that you're not fighting alone. You have your father behind you, your grandfather, the entire Hu family. You've never been alone. The elevator reached the first floor, and the doors opened. My father stepped out first. I followed behind him, watching his broad back, and suddenly realized this old man was way cooler than I'd ever given him credit for. 7. The scumbag cries and begs for my forgiveness. 7 days after the press conference, I received a message from Gu Sihan, not a phone call, not a text message, but a handwritten letter. The paper was crumpled, stained with blotchy watermarks, the handwriting scrawled as if written with the last shred of strength. The messenger was the Gu family's old housekeeper, Aunt Zhou, the same one who, 3 years ago, acted as Mrs. Gu's spy, tattling every day. She stood at the entrance of the Hu family mansion, her hair half gray, eyes red-rimmed, clutching the letter, her whole body hunched into itself. Miss Hu, her voice trembled. The young master, he told me to give this to you. He begs you to see him. I took the letter and unfolded it. It wasn't long, but every word felt like it was gouged out from the depths of his heart. Yunny, I was wrong. Those 3 words have been spinning in my head for 3 days and nights, and I don't know how to say them out loud. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. That day when I signed the divorce papers, I looked at your calm face and thought you'd given up. Now I realize you weren't giving up. You were waiting for me to reap what I sowed. The Gu family is finished. My brother's in jail. My dad's had a stroke. My mom's locked herself in her room, refusing to eat or drink. Lin Wanru ran away. The night before last, she took the last of the valuables from the house, along with all the jewelry I bought her. She left a note on the table saying the baby in her belly isn't mine, that it belongs to some guy she met at a nightclub. She fooled me for 2 whole years. I read that note dozens of times, and each time I felt more stupid than the last. For a woman full of lies, I drove away the wife carrying my child. Yunny, the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life isn't smuggling, isn't failing in business. It's signing that divorce agreement. Now I'm sitting in the living room of the old house, the whole place empty, even the curtains stripped away by Wanru. All I have left is the photo frame you left by the back door, our wedding picture. The glass is shattered. I pulled out the photo and taped it back together. You in your wedding dress is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Yunny, can you see me? I'm not asking for anything else. I just want to say sorry to your face. You can curse me out however you want. Make me kneel as long as you like. Give me a chance to say, face to face, all the words I owe you, the bastard you once married. Gu Sihan. I folded the letter and was silent for a long time. Aunt Zhou stood at the door, wringing her hands, looking at me timidly, her mouth open several times before she finally mustered the courage to speak. Miss Hu, the young master, he's wasted away these past few days, hasn't eaten in days. I know I treated you badly before, I toweled on you, said bad things about you. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I've watched the young master grow up since he was a child, and I've never seen him this miserable. If it's convenient for you, could you go see him? By the end, her voice choked up, old tears welling in her eyes. I turned and looked at my dad, who was sitting in the living room. He'd been listening the whole time, his newspaper half turned and untouched. He glanced up at me, his expression neither opposed nor approving, just saying flatly, "It's your call." I thought it over and said to Aunt Zhou, "Tell him to come to Hu Tower at 3 tomorrow afternoon. I'll see him." The next day at 3 in the afternoon, I sat in the reception room on the 28th floor of Hu Tower, gazing at the city skyline through the floor-to-ceiling windows. When the door opened, I didn't turn around right away. The footsteps were light, cautious, as if afraid to disturb something. Then came a dull thud, the sound of knees hitting the marble floor. I turned around. Gu Sihan was kneeling on the ground. He was gaunt, his chin sharp enough to poke, cheekbones jutting out high, eye sockets sunken deep. His suit hung loose on his frame, the Rolex gone from his wrist, leaving a pale mark, probably sold already. His hair was cut short, whether by himself or not, with a chunk missing at the temple, exposing pale scalp. This man, who once ruled the business world in the capital, now knelt before me like a dog abandoned on the roadside. Yunny, his voice was hoarse, as if sandpapered raw. "I'm sorry." He lowered his head, his forehead nearly touching the floor, his shoulders trembling slightly. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, No, I don't deserve it. His voice came in broken fragments, each word squeezed out from the depths of his lungs. I just wanted to tell you face to face how sorry I am. That day when I signed the agreement, I said you weren't worth a dime. That was the most despicable thing I've ever said in my life. You are worth it. You're worth everything. I was blind. I was led by greed and stupidity. Every word Wanra said was a lie. The child in her belly wasn't mine. Her so-called tenderness was all in act. She ran away, and before she left, she took everything valuable from the old mansion. He lifted his head, his eyes red as if they were about to bleed. You know what? When she left, I actually felt relieved. I thought it was karma, my karma. Whatever I did to you, she did to me, but what I owe you goes far beyond that. Yunny, I owe you an apology. I owe you 3 years of happiness. I owe you a complete family. He couldn't go on. He buried his face in his palms, his shoulders shaking violently. He was crying. This man, who hadn't shed a single tear in front of me for 3 years, was now kneeling before me, crying like a child. I looked down at the top of his head, at the new stubble of hair mixed with patches of white. He was barely 30, and already he had so much gray. It would be a lie to say I wasn't moved, but that's all it was, just moved. Gusahan, I said, my voice calm. Get up. He lifted his head, a glimmer of hope flashing in his eyes. Yunny, let me finish. I walked up to him and looked down. I won't remarry you, no matter how long you kneel here today, no matter how many times you say you're sorry. I will never go back to you. Every single day of those 3 years, every single thing you did to me, has carved scars into my heart that will never heal. You can apologize, and I can accept your apology, because once I do, we're even. From now on, you are you, and I am me. You don't have to repay what you owe me, because you've already paid the price. Gusahan's face turned as white as paper, his lips trembled, as if he wanted to say something to hold me back, but when he saw my eyes, he swallowed the words. Then, what about the children? His voice was so faint I could barely hear it. Those 2 children are mine. I took a deep breath. The children, this was his last card. He knew I couldn't deny that these 2 children shared his blood. Blood ties were a fact no identity change could alter. The children have nothing to do with you, I heard my own voice, cold and detached. Their last name is Hua, do you understand? Gusahan's body swayed, as if he had been punched hard. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, repeated the motion several times, and finally squeezed out one sentence. I am their father, biologically, yes. I looked at him, expressionless, but legally, morally, and emotionally, you are not. You once had a chance to be their father, back when you didn't know they existed. But now, you don't need to be. I won't stop you from watching them from afar in the future, but don't you dare get close to them. A man who forced me to abort my child, a family that threatened me during my pregnancy, they don't deserve to step into my children's childhood. Do you understand? Gusahan collapsed to the floor, his whole body drained of its last ounce of strength. Silence stretched on for a long time. Finally, he slowly got up, smoothed the wrinkles on his suit, wiped the tears from his face, and then bowed deeply to me. Thank you for coming to see me, and thank you for letting me give up hope. What I owe you in this life, I'll repay in the next. He turned around and staggered toward the door, his steps unsteady, as if walking on cotton, each step threatening to send him crashing down. I watched him reach the door, pause for 2 seconds, as if he wanted to turn back, but in the end, he didn't. The door closed behind him. From the hallway came a muffled sob, growing fainter and fainter, until it disappeared into the sound of the elevator doors shutting. I stood there, looked down at my own flat palms, those fists I had clenched for 3 years. At this moment, they finally unclenched. 8. The mistress's last stand. Video blackmail. 3 days after Gusahan left, I thought it was all over. My father said the retaliation in the business world was complete. The Gu Corporation had gone through bankruptcy liquidation. Gu's scion was sentenced to 15 years in prison for smuggling microchips. Gu's father was still lying in the hospital, half paralyzed from a stroke. Gu's mother had fallen into severe depression and was taken back to her maiden family for care. The entire Gu family, once a century-old dynasty, had become the biggest joke in the capital, and my life finally got back on track. I ate meals on time every day, went for regular prenatal checkups, and occasionally strolled around the Hua Corporation building to familiarize myself with future business. My dad said I didn't need to rush into work, just focus on getting my health back. My mom moved back from Switzerland and kept cooking me all sorts of delicious food, changing it up every day. I'd already gained 2 pounds in 3 days. I thought it was all over until that video appeared online that afternoon. I was reading a book on the balcony when Jean suddenly walked in quickly, his expression the most serious I'd seen in days. "Miss Hui, you need to see something." He handed me the tablet. On the screen was a video, posted on a small account known for exposing scandals among the elite. The headline was in bold red letters, "Exclusive, Hui family heiress's scandalous video exposed, the true face of the billionaire's daughter." Below it, the view count had already surpassed 1 million. I pressed play. The video showed a bedroom, that master bedroom in the Gu family home, the room I'd lived in for 3 years. The woman in the frame was lying on the bed in a bathrobe, shot from the direction of the closet, clearly a hidden camera installed in advance. Her face was blurred out, but the bathrobe, the bracelet on her wrist, the photo frame on the nightstand, every detail pointed to me. The video was only 30 seconds long. It didn't capture anything truly explicit, just a woman sitting on the edge of the bed drying her hair from behind, but paired with that headline and thumbnail, it was enough to make any viewer jump to the most degrading conclusions. My fingers froze on the screen, and I felt a cold shiver spread from my fingertips through my entire body. "Who posted this?" My voice was steady, but the knuckles gripping the tablet had already turned white. Jean tapped open another page, the account's info. It was registered 3 days ago, using an anonymous email and a virtual number, looking like a burner account. But then he pulled up a screenshot, a private message exchange between the poster and a fan, which the fan had leaked online. In the DM, the fan asked the poster, "Are you from the Gu family? How do you have this video?" The poster replied, "Ever heard of Lin Wanru? That's me. That bitch ruined my life, so I'm going to ruin hers. Let the whole internet see what the billionaire's daughter looks like in bed." My blood ran cold. Lin Wanru, she'd run, but she hadn't disappeared. She was hiding somewhere I didn't know, using the dirtiest tactics to strike at me one last time. She had that secretly recorded video, clearly footage from the hidden cameras Gu's mother had installed to spy on me in that house. Now that family was finished, and those videos had fallen into Lin Wanru's hands, I handed the tablet back to Jean, took a deep breath, and dialed my dad's number. "Dad, did you see that video?" His deep voice came through the phone. "I saw it. I've already sent people to trace it. The posting account's IP is in Southeast Asia, using an encrypted server. It'll take some time to crack, but I've had the video taken down across the entire internet. All platforms are cooperating to remove it. Taking it down isn't enough. She definitely has backups. She failed this time, but she'll try again. I want to end this for good." There was a few seconds of silence on the other end. Then my dad said, "What do you have in mind?" I stared out the window, thinking for a moment. "Make her hand over the evidence herself." That night, I posted a statement on my personal social media account regarding the so-called scandalous video circulating online recently. I, Hui Yunny, hereby declare the following. First, the woman in the video is not me. The bathrobe and bracelet shown are standard items purchased in bulk by the Gu family. Any woman staying in that room could own the same ones. Second, the secret filming of this video is a serious violation of personal privacy, and the poster has already committed a criminal offense. Third, I have entrusted the Hui Corporation's legal team to handle this matter fully, and I will pursue the poster's legal liability to the fullest extent of the law. As soon as the statement went live, the comments section exploded. Most netizens chose to believe me. Who would joke about their own reputation like that? Miss Hui has money and status, no need for attention. But some were snarky. Explanations are just cover-ups. Prove it if you can. I ignored those comments because I was waiting for a call. At 3 in the morning the next day, my phone rang. "Hui Yunny, you're ruthless." Lin Wanru's voice crackled through the receiver, laced with sobs and gritted teeth hatred. "What the hell does your statement mean? What do you mean? The woman in the video is not me. You think just denying it makes it go away? Do you know what people online are saying about me? They're calling me a liar, a clout chaser, saying I racked up gambling debts overseas to pull this stunt. I'm stuck in a Macau casino right now, 5 million in the hole. Are you happy now?" Her voice grew more hysterical, devolving into shrieks by the end. I listened calmly, waiting for her to finish, then spoke. "Lin Wanru, you're in Macau." She froze for half a second, as if realizing she'd slipped up, then let out a cold laugh. "Yeah, so what? You gonna send someone to grab me?" "Let me tell you, everything I posted online is perfectly legal. It's public oversight. Go ahead, try to come get me. Let everyone see how the richest heiress bullies a helpless woman." Helpless woman? I let out a laugh. "You secretly filmed me, threatened me, Posted videos online to smear me. Where exactly do you see yourself as helpless? I am helpless, she screamed. You've destroyed everything. Sihan doesn't want me anymore. The Gu family is finished, and the baby in my belly has no father. You did all this. Yunny, I'm telling you, I've got even juicier videos. If you don't want the whole internet to see you changing clothes in your bedroom, wire me 5 million right now, not a cent less, otherwise I'll release every single clip and ruin you for good. I paused for 3 seconds, not because I was scared, but because I was confirming that I was recording every word she said. Lin Wanru, I said, my voice still calm, but every word sharp as a blade. I've recorded every single thing you just said. Threats, extortion, secret filming, spreading private information, multiple charges stacked together. Guess how many years you'll be inside. Silence on the other end, then a chaotic clatter. Like a phone dropping to the floor and being frantically picked up, Lin Wanru's voice started trembling. You recorded it. Yunny, you can't do this. I just made a mistake. I owe the casino money. They're forcing me to pay up. I had no choice. Just send me the money and I'll delete the videos. I swear I'll delete every single one, not a single backup left. You think I believe you? I really will delete them, I swear. Yunny, I'm begging you. I can't go to jail. I still have a baby inside me. A baby whose father is unknown. My words cut through her like a clean blade, severing her last shred of resistance. A wail of utter collapse came through the phone, followed by a jumbled mess of curses and pleas. I set the phone down on the table and let her sob for a full 5 minutes before picking it up again. Lin Wanru, listen carefully. I'll pay off your 5 million debt, not because you deserve sympathy, but because the baby you're carrying is innocent. After the debt is cleared, you go to the nearest police station and turn yourself in. If you surrender voluntarily, I can have my lawyer drop the criminal charges, as long as you write a public apology admitting to the secret filming and defamation, and promise never to show up in my life again. If you don't surrender, I paused, my voice dropping to an icy low, I'll have the Macau police come pick you up personally. Your choice. Silence on the other end. It stretched on for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then a hoarse voice came through, hollow with total defeat. I'll take the first option. Good. I want to see news of your surrender within 3 days. If I don't see it by then, the deal's off. I hung up outside the window. The sky was paling to a fish-belly white, morning light seeping through the curtain cracks onto the floor. I leaned back on the sofa, set my phone on the coffee table, and let out a long, slow breath. 3 days later, a news item appeared in the entertainment section of major outlets. Lin Wanru, former close friend of the ex-madam of the Gu family, voluntarily surrendered at a Macau police station on charges of secret filming, extortion, and spreading private information. After court proceedings, Lin Wanru was sentenced to 2 years in prison, suspended for 2 years, and fined 100,000 yuan. Additionally, Lin Wanru issued a public apology to the victim, Ms. Yunny, through the media, admitting all allegations were true. Below the article was a photo. Lin Wanru walking into court with her head down, no makeup, wearing a plain white shirt, her hair casually tied back, looking no different from any ordinary passerby, without the polished makeup and designer dresses, without the smug grin and deliberately arched belly. She had finally become just another person. No, even worse than an ordinary person. I put down my phone and walked to the balcony. The autumn wind blew in, sending ginkgo leaves drifting down from the trees, carpeting the ground in a layer of gold. My mom called up from downstairs, telling me to come eat breakfast, saying she'd made my favorite yam and pork rib soup today. I touched my belly. The 2 little ones inside were moving. One rolled over, the other kicked me. Don't rush, I whispered. I'll take you to eat something good soon, Joe. The Gu family collapsed completely, ending in a tragic mess. After the news of Lin Wanru's confession spread, the last shred of the Gu family's dignity crumbled entirely. After Gu's mother was taken back by her own family, her mental state deteriorated day by day. According to my mom, she locked herself in her room every day, refusing to open the windows or turn on the lights, endlessly muttering Gu Sahan's name. Sometimes she'd suddenly scream, saying someone wanted to harm her grandson. When her sisters came to visit, she didn't recognize them, mistaking everyone for me. She knelt and kowtowed to them, begging, Yunny, please let our family go. We were wrong. We really know we were wrong now. When I heard this news, I felt no schadenfreude, nor any sympathy, just emptiness. That mother-in-law who once strutted arrogantly through the high society circles of the capital, who nitpicked and looked down on me, had finally been driven mad by the evil she herself had sown. The camera she'd installed in the bedroom, originally meant to monitor me, had become the fatal weapon that destroyed her son. Her unconditional trust and favoritism toward Lin Wanru, meant to bring an obedient daughter-in-law into the Gu family, had instead invited a wolf into the house, dooming the entire clan. Heaven's justice always comes full circle. The skies spare no one. Gu's father was in even worse shape. After his stroke, he spent a full month in the ICU. By the time he could barely open his eyes, the Gu Corporation had already declared bankruptcy and liquidation. The company building was sealed with bank notices, and the Gu family's ancestral home was seized by the court and put up for auction. The nurse said he kept crying when he woke up, tears streaming from his left eye, then his right, but because of the stroke's after effects, his mouth was twisted, and he couldn't form complete words. He wanted to ask where his son was, whether the company still existed, if the old house had been saved, but not a single word came out. No one dared to tell him the truth. In his current condition, any shock could be fatal. Gu Sion, on the other hand, was living the most stable life in prison. He was operating a sewing machine in there, and apparently, he was pretty good at it. Last month, he was named a labor model. His sentence was 15 years. By the time he got out, the world outside would have changed beyond recognition, but at least he was still alive, with a chance to start over. What surprised me most was Gu Sahan. I thought he'd completely break down. I thought after everything, he'd go mad like his mother or collapse like his father, but he didn't. After the bankruptcy liquidation, Gu Sahan moved out of the Gu family's ancestral home and rented a single-room apartment under 40 square meters on the outskirts of the city. He sold all his old luxury goods, watches, suits, leather shoes, ties, and got a few thousand yuan. After paying the rent and basic living expenses, he had just over 1,000 left. He used that money to sign up for a food delivery rider training course, bought a second-hand electric scooter, and started delivering takeout through the city's streets and alleys. I found out about this from Aizhong. While investigating Lin Wanru, he'd also kept an eye on Gu Sahan's movements. He discovered that Gu Sahan had registered an account on a food delivery platform under the ID Start Over. After a month on the job, his satisfaction rating was 99%. The only negative review came from a customer who cursed him out for being 10 minutes late during a heavy rainstorm. He apologized without offering any excuses. Aizhong also pulled up his riding route map. He worked from 7 in the morning to 11 at night, completing 40 to 50 orders a day, rain or wind. He never took a day off. Once, he got into a minor accident and scraped his knee. He just dabbed it with iodine, slapped on a bandage, and kept going. His order volume ranked in the top 10% among all riders. He always claimed the platform's bonus rewards, not because he was desperate for money, but because he wanted every cent he was owed. I stared at the dense tangle of route lines on the screen for a long time. How much does he make in a month now? I asked. 7 to 10,000. Depending on volume, pretty good for a writer. 7,000 yuan. Back when he was the CEO of the Gu Corporation, he could blow 7,000 on a single meal. Now, he had to ride an electric scooter for a month, braving the wind and sun, just to earn the same amount. Has he ever mentioned me? I asked again. Aizhong shook his head. We've checked all his communication records. There's no mention of you at all. He's deleted all his social media accounts and cut ties with everyone from his past. Aside from occasionally calling his father in the hospital, his phone has no private call logs. I stared at the trajectory on the screen, recalling that day in the meeting room when he knelt on the ground, remembering his final words, "I owe you in this life, I'll repay you in the next," and then the silhouette of him stumbling out. I don't know if he truly regretted it. Maybe he only regretted losing his wealth and status. Not losing me. Maybe he genuinely wanted to start over, to live as an ordinary person. Maybe on some late night, he returned to that 40 square meter rental apartment, lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, and thought of the woman in the wedding dress from 3 years ago, feeling a real pain in his heart. But none of that has anything to do with me anymore. I closed the tablet and walked to the window. Outside, the city was settling into evening, lights flickering on, traffic flowing like a river. In some corner of the city, a man was weaving through the night on an electric scooter, a thermal box on the back seat carrying someone else's dinner. He was once the person I hated most. Now he's become the stranger I know the least. call off the surveillance on him, I said to Aizhong. Aizhong nodded without asking questions. I leaned against the window frame, watching the sky darken bit by bit. The little one inside started acting up again, a kick, a punch. As if reminding me it was time to eat, I smiled, patted my belly, and whispered, "All right, Mom. We'll take you to get some good food. After this meal, no more thinking about the past." Chapter, The Birth of Twins, the new richest woman 5 months later, in the most exclusive private hospital in the capital, I experienced the most painful yet most beautiful day of my life. My due date came 3 days early. That day, I was sitting in the living room playing chess with my dad when I suddenly felt my pants get wet. I froze for a second, then yelled, "Dad!" The chess piece slipped from my dad's hand, bounced on the board twice, and rolled to the floor. He stared at my belly for a full 3 seconds, then shot up and shouted toward the kitchen, "Wife, quick, call the doctor, Yunny is going into labor." What happened in the delivery room that day, I later heard from my mom. She said my face went white from the pain when I entered the delivery room. My dad paced back and forth in the hallway outside, wearing a visible groove into the marble floor. Aizhong stood nearby, phone in hand, ready to activate the second contingency plan at any moment. My mom stayed with me in the delivery room, while my dad kept everyone else away from outside. "If anything goes wrong in there," he said to Aizhong, "bring in the best doctors from the entire city, no matter the cost, as long as my daughter is safe." Aizhong said, "Mr. Hu, rest assured, Miss will be fine." My dad said, "I know, but I'm still worried." He worried for 4 hours. 4 hours later, the first cry came from the delivery room, then a second, louder than the first, as if declaring sovereignty with a fierce wail. The nurse came out holding 2 babies, beaming, "Congratulations, a boy and a girl, both healthy. The boy is 5 pounds 8 ounces, the girl is 5 pounds 6 ounces, great weights for twins their age." My dad took the babies, cradling them in his arms, looking at their wrinkled little faces, one still crying, the other already asleep. A trace of milk at the corner of her mouth. He stared for a long time, then handed them to my mom, turned, walked to the window, and stood with his back to everyone, his shoulders trembling slightly. My brother called out from the side, "Dad, are you crying?" "Bullshit." My dad's voice was muffled, thick with a heavy nasal tone. "It's the wind." Aizhong glanced down at the weather report on his phone. "Sunny, no wind." He said nothing. I lay in bed, completely drained, but watching the nurses wash and swaddle the 2 babies, placing them in the crib beside me. The satisfaction in my heart outweighed everything. The boy was named Huaping, the girl Huan, taken from the nicknames Anin and Ningning I'd given them in my heart 3 years ago. Peace and safety, that was my only wish for them, and my only expectation for my own future life. On the day of discharge, my dad booked the entire floor. A row of black Rolls Royces lined up outside the hospital entrance, security standing in 2 rows, blocking the reporters from getting close. My mom carried the boy, Aizhong carried the girl, and I was bundled in a thick down jacket, sitting in a wheelchair as my dad pushed me out. I didn't actually want to use the wheelchair, thinking it was too dramatic, but my dad insisted, saying I couldn't catch a chill or exert myself during the postpartum month. As I walked out of the hospital gates, the sunlight was just right, warm on my face. I squinted at the sky, still so blue, just like that day months ago when I walked out the back door of the Gu family. But this time, I wasn't surrounded by 2 burlap sacks, but by a group of people who truly loved me. Before getting into the car, my dad suddenly grabbed my wheelchair and pulled out a red velvet box from his pocket. He opened it, revealing a seal made of platinum, engraved with the character Hua, its pattern as exquisite as a piece of art. "This was passed down from your grandfather to me, and now I'm passing it to you." He placed the seal in my palm, his fingers rough, his palm burning hot. "From today onward, you are the 3rd generation head of the Hua family. All assets of the Hua Group, including 137 companies worldwide, 17 shipping routes, mining rights to 3 mountains, and everything I've saved up in my lifetime, are all registered under your name." His voice paused, then he looked up at me, his eyes reddening, but a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "You once lost 3 years of your youth because of a man. Today, your dad is giving you all the confidence I've built over the years. From now on, you can marry whoever you want, or not marry at all. You don't need anyone's approval, because you yourself are the elite." I held the seal, feeling it slowly warm in my palm. The coldness of the metal gradually seeped into my body heat, just like the heart I had frozen over the years in the Gu family, slowly thawing. Dad, I said, aren't you the spoiling dad everyone online talks about? Why are you saying so many touching things? Making the atmosphere feel like a funeral. My dad froze for a second, then burst out laughing. You little brat, you haven't even finished your postpartum confinement and you're already cracking jokes. Fine, I'll stop. Get in the car now, let's go home and have some soup. Your mom made Angelica and black chicken soup, simmered for 6 hours. He lifted me out of the wheelchair, carefully placed me in the car, then turned back to help my mom with the bags. Sitting in the car, I looked down at the seal in my hand, at the tiny Hua character, and suddenly felt it heavier than ever before, because from today, I wasn't just Hua Yunny, I was the head of the Hua family, the mother of 2 children, and the protagonist of a brand new life. The car slowly pulled away from the hospital, and I took one last look back. The sunlight bathed the entire building in gold, the glass curtain wall reflecting the color of the sky. My belly was empty, my arms were empty. The 2 kids were being held by my mom and Uncle Jean in the car behind, but my heart was full, so full it was about to overflow. 2 months later, the Hua group held a grand press conference. That day, I wore a custom-made bright red suit, stepped into 10-centimeter heels, and stood on the stage of the conference, facing the world's media and cameras. Behind me, on the giant screen, golden characters read, "Inauguration ceremony of the 3rd-generation head of the Hua group." My dad sat in the front row, holding the 2 little ones in his arms, one pacifier in each mouth, grinning from ear to ear. My mom sat beside him, armed with a bottle and spare diapers, fully prepared. The back rows were filled with representatives from global financial conglomerates and business leaders, along with the presidents and executives of Hua Group's subsidiaries. I cleared my throat, and the entire venue fell silent instantly. Hello everyone, I'm Hua Yunny. Today marks the day I officially take over as the executive president of the Hua Group. This is a report card my dad handed to me, and also a statement I'm making to myself. Applause erupted. My dad set the bottle on his knee and freed one hand to clap. On this special day, I have 3 announcements to make. The room went quiet, everyone holding their breath. First, the Hua Group will launch a 10 billion charity fund, specifically to support single mothers in starting businesses and children's education. I will personally donate 1 billion to this fund. More applause followed. Second, the Hua Group will build 3 new international shipping routes in Southeast Asia, further expanding our leading position in the global shipping industry. This isn't just business expansion, it's my own demand to make the Hua name one that everyone respects. Murmurs spread through the audience, and financial reporters began typing furiously. Third, I paused, scanning the crowd, then looked down at the white-haired men holding 2 infants in the front row. Third, I am a single mother. I have a pair of adorable twins, Hua Ping and Huan. I stand here today to tell them, your mom once lost, but she got back up. She will give you the best world, without needing anyone's charity, because, I took a deep breath, my voice carrying a faint, barely noticeable tremor, but every word was as steady as a nail driven into the air. Because she herself is the elite. The words fell, and thunderous applause erupted throughout the venue. Camera flashes flickered into a sea of light, the clicking of shutters drowning out everything. I stood on stage, looking at the faces below, my father's pride, my mother's tears, Jean's rare smile, and countless eyes filled with shock and admiration. All of this was earned through 3 years of hell. Was it worth it? I don't know, but what I do know is that from today onward, my life belongs to me. After the press conference ended, I walked out of the venue and got into a black Rolls-Royce. The car glided silently through the bustling streets. I leaned back in my seat, closed my eyes for a moment to rest, then pulled out my phone. There was a new message on my phone, from an unfamiliar number. Congratulations, I don't deserve to witness your happiness, but I'm genuinely happy for you. I can't repay what I owe you in this lifetime. In the next life, I'll reincarnate as a better person. Take care. No signature, but I knew who it was. I stared at the message for a long time, then pressed the delete button. I opened my contacts, found that number, and added it to the blacklist. The phone screen dimmed, reflecting my face, 2 extra fine lines at the corners of my eyes. But my gaze was clearer and sharper than 3 years ago. I put the phone back into my bag and rolled down the window. The deep winter wind rushed in, cold enough to jolt me awake. The car happened to pass by the busiest commercial street in the capital, where a massive screen was scrolling today's news. The 3rd-generation heir of the Hua family takes office, the youngest female leader of a billion-dollar empire. I withdrew my gaze, leaned back into the seat, and closed my eyes. 3 years, 1 dream, now it's over now, a new life has just begun, the end.